Happy Friday. Welcome to, actually, we're getting towards the end of, well, I guess not the end, middle of August, right? I can't believe how quickly the summer is going, but we're not here to talk weather or things like that. I today wanted to show you a little bit behind the scenes of how I increase productivity in not only what I do here in terms of streaming, but across the board in the work that I do. What I would like, I believe I've tested, based off of sound issues last week, I've been testing it multiple times, but, let me know if you're hearing or not hearing in the chat. Questions you have at any point that come up, please let me know. But today we are going to dig in and we're going to talk about my favorite little tool, if I can get this up in front of the camera, the Stream Deck. I've got several of these. So that is the 15. And then I also have a 32, if I can get this up here so you can kind of see it. So I actually run two of these. And I should have thought about that right before I just pulled it off its stand. But there we go. But what is a Stream Deck, right? That's where we're going to start. All right. So a Stream Deck, this is really, all it is, it's a programmable keyboard with a digital button. That's it, right? So if we look back at this, right, this one has 15 buttons, and I'm able to program these out to do specific items. So really, think of it as like a mini keyboard. It's like the number key over on the right-hand side of your keyboard, but you have a lot more control over it. Let me, to talk about, there's actually three different, there's three models, and I'm just going to pull up Amazon real quick so we can show you this. And what I've also done, and it may work sometimes, it may not, and the reason why it may not is because my kids always steal my charging cables, and so they get like bent and they don't always work. But I've set it up so that, here, if I come over here, that you can see, I'm just moving the Stream Deck around so we can get it. I'm basically using my webcam, or my phone as a separate webcam. So you can see these buttons, and, obviously I need to dust it. I should have done that before this. But what I'm going to do is, basically what ends up happening is when we push the buttons, we're able to navigate through. And like one of these buttons I've set up is, my desktop, right? So I can just pop over. So just here on Amazon, you have a couple different models. You have the model that I was looking at, the 15 button. There is a 32 button somewhere in here. And there's also a 6 button. And let me see. We may be able to see more within these. But so there's three models. And obviously there's a cost to it. So like this, the Stream Deck right here, if you were to buy this one, it's $150, right? There's, it's not inexpensive. I want to say the 6 button is about $100. There is also the 32 one is, I think it's about just about $200. But there is, and here I'm just changing this out real quick so I can show it to you. There is also an app that you can put onto your phone where you're able to, push buttons and have things happen. So let me come back over here. So actually, let's get rid of that. So same thing. It's an app on the phone. So like on here, like if I push firework, right, it applies the firework thing I had set up a little while ago, or generally the one that's more apt for this session is the train wreck, right? So I can control these things from my phone as well. And the nice part about the phone there's no cost for the app itself, but if you wanted to use the service, it's $3 a month or $25 for a year. So if you were thinking like, do I want to try this out? For less than a cup of coffee a day, you would be able to go through, download the app onto your phone, pay for the $3, try it out, see if you see some benefit of it, and then you're going to be able to move forward. And I should say at this point, I am not, there's no sponsorship from Gato, the company behind this. It is, it's a product that I am a big believer in and think it provides so much to us as a user that, the benefit, it well outweighs the cost to it. And I was just trying to get my phone back set up so we can see the see the monitor, right? So I can come back in and you can see this as we go along. All right. So that's the basics of what a Stream Deck is, right? It's a piece of hardware. But in reality, the power of the program isn't in the hardware itself, other than you get buttons that light up and can change, which is pretty awesome. But the power of what it does comes through the software itself. So let's go back here. Let me come over here. And so if we go into the desktop, I'm going to go back to my desktop, right? So there was Amazon. But if we come back to, I want to pull up, where is it? It's this one right here. This here is the software that comes with when you have your Stream Deck installed. And basically what you're able to do, these items, these mirror what's going on the keyboard, right? So like if you see this top left button that my finger's at the moment says L&D lunch hour, which is what the top button is over on the monitor itself, right? Just as an example, we'll use this screen, because it gives me the ability, like I've set it up where I use a program called Epic Pen, where it allows me to draw on the screen itself, right? So like I pushed that Epic Pen arrow button, right? So if you look down at the camera feed, I push that and it allows me to draw arrows. And I can push those wherever I want. And when I want to turn off that capability, I push it again. And now my cursor doesn't do that. And I have it set up with another button up here at the top. Should we use this one? That button, so clear Epic Pen. If I push that button, it will go through and it'll clear all those out. So in terms of for virtual training, or I'm providing demonstrations, and that's what I was talking about, my kids have broken all my phone cables. So as soon as I move my leg and there's any movement on the phone, it kind of flips a little bit. So I apologize about that. But we can go through and you can set these buttons to do whatever you want. And it's the software that allows us to do this. So here, if I zoom in, on the left-hand side, you can kind of see all the different programs that I currently have software for. And here, I'm actually going to get rid of that window for a moment, just for sake of that thing not popping in and out. But on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of systems that I've already set up of things you can do. So like system controls, OBS Studio, which is actually the tool that I use to do these live streams. There's capabilities, the Stream Deck, Control Center. This is what allows me to do my lighting. So I actually have on my button, and actually let's come over here just so you can see this. So this bottom button is set up that controls the lights in my office. So if I push that, the lighting I use to light things up is all controlled through there. But I'm going to go back. So we'll come back over here. So there's different things that you're able to do within here, right? And so like notice there's ones for PowerPoint and Google Meet, and I have one in here for Zoom. So there's controls that we can put in for different programs that we use. So let's, just as an example, I'm going to unzoom this just so we can see a little bit better. And so like for the computer program Zoom, and I'm just getting to a place where I can get to some other things. But for Zoom, like I could put on a button that will set up, that will mute. I'll push it and it will mute myself or unmute myself within Zoom. So now regardless of what I'm doing, wherever my cursor is located, like I'm going to sneeze and I need to quickly mute, I can just push the button versus trying to navigate my cursor away from wherever it was, get to that mute button, or remember what the control keys were to do so, right? Or, you want to turn your video on, turn your video off. All of those things in the specific software or the app that works within the Stream Deck, I'm able to pick and choose the pieces that I want to make my life easier. So I'm just going to take those ones out for now. So there's ones that, programs that I've already installed, but on this ribbon or on the software, there is up here towards the right-hand side, you'll notice there's where we get into settings. This is where we get into where we can launch their store. And I pulled it up on my other monitor, so let me pull that over. Within here, I can now, there's different articles, things like that, but plugins, what is out there that could be installed and things that I could currently use. Like if let's say you use Spotify and you use it all the time into your virtual trainings. Maybe you want to install some of that stuff so you have better control over what you're doing with the click of a mouse or the click of a Stream Deck button versus trying to go through and, manually navigate to do those things. So there's a bunch of different things that are already loaded up in here. Plus, you have the ability in some of these, and I'm going to close this out just to show you, we can create our own. And so that's, that's the basis of what this program does, is it allows us to go through, it allows us, and you don't need to see my awful looking hand, it allows us to quickly, make things happen as we work through our processes. So let's actually kind of look at this in some use cases. All right. So we're going to spend a little bit more time over in, on my monitor itself, so you can see exactly what's going on. But let us hop back over. All right. So this is the software, and I may pull this up from time to time just so you can see it. But, and actually I'm going to minimize some of these. All right, so let's say we're just on a straight desktop. And actually, I could have set up a hotkey where I could just quickly, I think it's Command D or Windows D will bring you right to your desktop. I could set that as a hotkey. Here, we'll test it out just so we can see. So if I hold down Windows and D, yeah, it brings me right to my right to my desktop. So let's say I wanted to set that up so I didn't have to remember what that key was. All I would need to do, and let me get back to the Stream Deck software. On the left-hand side, where I'm looking at the different programs I wanted, I could come up into System, and there's a setting over here for hotkey. And now all I need to do is drag this over and drop it into where I need a button. And so I could call this, let's call it desktop. And then when I go click to assign, I will do Windows D, and it sets that into place. And now, we'll go back so you can see with the phone, right? So we're going to come over. This is that button I just created called desktop. I push it, and it brings us straight to the desktop. So, now I don't have to remember which button it is. I just need to push the button, and it quickly does it. All right. So that being said, let's pull up a few other things. So things, just, things that I use all the time, and you saw it, like I use the Epic Pen when I need to draw on the screen, right? I get the ability to draw those arrows, and there's more things in that program, like I can draw this to squares. Those are the two that I use quite a bit, as well as the clear. But other ones, and this was one I actually found out while I was working on this, and I think this will be a fun one to use. Now this is through another program that I use, but now let's say, you want to give the idea that you're really angry and you're going to be just cussing your head off, and you're a bunch of I have a button I can push that will just give me the beeping sound, right? Like you're censored, right? I actually wasn't saying anything. I was just holding down the button and letting that sound go across. Is it useful? I don't know, but it seems like it sure could be a lot of fun. But in reality, some of the major things that I'll use this for, other than doing things in the live stream, right? Like when I go and I push on the office button, right? It brings me back to this layout, right? Or if I push the monitor button, it brings me back here. Or, if I go back to monitor 2, you're able to see, I'm able to kind of change the scenes, and that's done through OBS, right? And which is what I do a lot for these live streams. And I'm just noticing here, Teresa, thank you. And actually, thank you for letting me know that the volume was coming through great. And I'm very happy that you're able to join from South Africa. So, anything any questions you have during any of this, or if you're like, Pat, you're just rambling, let me know, right? That's what the whole comment section's for. All right. So, and there goes that webcam thing again. But ones that I kind of use more on a daily basis, right? Like I'm constantly in Microsoft Word, right? So instead of having to navigate through and open up find the program and open it, I've set it up so it's just a button on my ribbon, right? Or not on my ribbon, but right on my Stream Deck. I push it, it goes through, it opens up the program, right? So we can do that. I can use the buttons like, all right, let's say you use like I use Snagit a whole bunch, right? I push my Snagit button, and in this case, it pulls up the editor. The other one pulls up the capture. This one, if I needed to do just a quick screen grab, I can do that. We can set it up to open up specific websites. So like this one here, I actually need to let me come back here just so we can see it. What it had done is it had opened it up on the last browser that I had open, and because I have browsers on a couple different monitors just for the stream, it opened up on the other one. But now that I've selected the browser I would normally be looking at, or not, it keeps opening it up on the other monitor. But there it is, right? There's the website coming up. If I use this one here, which is, this is the important one. Again, all through testing, I was doing this multiple times, and it was setting it up directly onto the right monitor. But now, of course, it isn't, because that's how things go live. Let's see, Teresa, what's your question? Does the Stream Deck device and app allow for storage, or does this enable touchscreen capabilities for your desktop while connected? Device and app allow for storage. So it's not going to be touch screen like on your monitor itself. It's touch on the deck itself, and it's information stored in there. We can use it to launch different programs or different files or multimedia. There's a lot of things. I don't think I'm answering your question correctly, but let me know. I can reach out to you, and we can find. I can definitely get the answer for you for that. I just don't think I'm quite grasping the question. All right. So other things like opening up files, like I have a button here. One thing, like for these live streams, I use PowerPoint on a daily or on a weekly basis to create my thumbnails for these. So on this, I've gone through and I've just added that file on here. So I don't have to find it. I just click on it. It opens it up. It's one that I'm constantly working at. So it's always there. Right? The other things that we can do, and this is all tied back to this piece of software, right? So we can do websites, we can do hotkeys, opening programs, we can do specific text, things like that. One that I've really started playing around with, and that thing's just driving me nuts today, and why it's not keeping the items. But in terms of productivity, so let's go back. We're going to open up a Word document. Right? So I clicked on that to open up Word. I'm just going to go into a blank document. All right, so there's my two hands, just so you can see. So here's the hand, the one that I just bumped. That's the other hand that's just controlling the Stream Deck, just so you know, look, mom, no hands type thing. I've set it up now. Like, let's say we're going to write a blog article, and you have a kind of a template or a item that you always lay in. You always have it go into place. And so what I have done just so you know, it's insert into quick parts. I've set up this what's called a blog template. And actually, before I do the no hands, I kind of need to just show you. So using the quick parts, I've set it up where this comes in each and every time. I can now just change over my blog title, right? I've got it set up like it's got 3 points and a conclusion, right? And I've put in fields where I can just now go in and randomly type in text. All right. So that's how it's currently set up. And so I'm going to, we'll delete this, right? So again, now we're at the no hand stage. So just using this one button on the ribbon that I've set up, I can push on it and it will immediately insert that quick part. I don't have to find it. I've set it up to do that automatically, right? Just as an example, let's say, for those who are aware of like some of the lorem, like the lorem ipsums that are available in Word or a PowerPoint, where we can type in specific, equal signs lorem, open parentheses, a number, close parentheses, and we hit return. It gives us a specific amount of text, right? We can do that, right? We can do that. I've also set it up, right? Because it's just fake Latin text. Like, are there quotes that you would rather use? So let's just scroll this up so we can see. So I've set up this button called, right now it's one of my favorite quotes from the book Dune, if I can figure this out. It's about fear is the mind killer. So if I push that button, it automatically inserts that text. Just instead of using, random text where I have to type in a code, I now just use the text feature on the program to put that in. There's some in here, some of the other programs, right? So like they have created a PowerPoint program or, an app, some plugins for PowerPoint. And if you look at it, it is strictly for setting up, basically controlling a slideshow, which is great. So let's go back. I'm going to use this. We're going to open up that, open back up my PowerPoint that I use all the time. But let's say I want to make this, turn it into a slideshow. Great. I'm going to push the slideshow button and it immediately turns it into a slideshow, right? And I can now use the forward and the back buttons to move my way through my slideshow, and I don't need to do it, right? Or let's say if I had put this on my phone and I'm now, let's say, presenting, and you don't have that little doohickey, right, that controls your thing. Just put it as a button on your Stream Deck app on your phone, and now we can push our way through, right? But we can now layer in other things to it as well. All right, but we're in PowerPoint. We're not just using it as a slideshow, right? How do we do this for production value? So let's come down here. This is, I'm going to actually delete that out. That was for me building my last thumbnail. But let's say I went through and I've set up a couple things in here. Like I'm going to just go in, I'm going to insert a couple shapes. All right, so let's put in, all right, we'll just use this. We'll just copy a couple of these over. And all right, so we've got some shapes in here. And maybe this is like you're using PowerPoint to build out some icons or things like that. Like you're using the icons all the time. Like I've set up a little button here to insert icons, right? So normally to insert icons, we'd come up to insert over in the illustration section, click on icons, and it launches the window that we can get into, right? Not a huge, it's not a huge amount of steps, but now, in this scenario, I can just push the insert button and it immediately brings me right to this, right? And I can now grab whatever I wanted. and I could insert that in, right? So I'm easily able to do that. For me, like when I use PowerPoint, I like to have the selection pane, which was already open, but I've got that set up. There we go. If I got the selection pane, if I push that button, it automatically opens it. And now I'm able to start, if I need to hide or show things or move things around on what order they are, send to back, send to front, all of that, I can get to it just with the click of the Stream Deck button. Same thing, like maybe I want to, I was going through some use cases of things that I do quite a bit where, on images, I'm editing points, right? Whereas, so I would come in, normally I'd select my shape, come up to shape format, then over in the insert shape section, choose edit shape, edit points, right? And now I can get in and I can start dragging these and changing this shape around how I need to. But just to make my life easier, I put it as a button called edit points. So I click on the shape I want to edit, click on edit points, and I'm right into it. I don't have to navigate to do it. And that's the other reason why I like to put edit points on there, because once I click out of it, you have to work your way through this whole thing one more time. But now I can quickly, create shapes that I need to or change around their structure just off of editing points. So look, what the Stream Deck does, it's about how do we go through and think about the ways we can make our lives easier in these different processes, right? So a lot of what I do on this is I'm using hotkeys, right? I set up hotkeys to do things, right? Like I'm just navigating back. So one of the buttons I've set up, and this is one I've kind of wanted to add in more and more into some of these streams just to make things a little bit more fun. But in here, this is where I can get into that beeping, right? As if I was cussing. But I can also set it up, right? If I push this, I can turn on my Snapchat camera where now I look like a Viking, but I can also put a voice modulation on there. So I've got a little bit of a different sound. So we're able to quickly maneuver through and have things look the way we want to. And then when I no longer want to be a Viking, I push it and it turns it back off. So the point is, with the Stream Deck, the world's your oyster, to use a really bad terminology, is that we can go through and we can choose all these different items that's going to make our lives easier. And it's just figuring out the pieces of software that you use and the processes you go about it, and then mapping those to the Stream Deck to make your life easier. I mean, there's places, if you were to come in, and let me go back, let's pull up, right? If I come back here to Amazon, like if you were to Google, like let's say Stream Adobe, and here I got a caps lock. I can't type and talk to save my life. But within here, and don't take this as I'm saying that you should go and buy these type of things. But there's companies out there, like it's for Premiere Pro, but I know this company does it for a whole bunch of programs, but they have already gone through and mapped out every single function within these programs, created icons for them. Obviously you pay them a service, but now you could quickly get all the pieces that you need and, map, all the Adobe Premiere or Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator. They've got these for Word and PowerPoint. So, if you just wanted to kind of like, I want this functionality, I don't have time to map everything myself, take a look. There's people out there who've done this work and who sell it. And again, I'm not saying this is the way to go, but I'm just saying it's an option that's out there. But that's the big thing today, is I wanted to just show you what's possible, right? Like how I go from, this look to, having fireworks go off or putting my title up on the page, right? All of those things are tied to features I've put onto my Stream Deck. And yes, it helps for virtual training, it helps for live streaming, but you can do so much more just in your day-to-day work. Next week on YouTube, I'm going to be putting out a video showing you exactly how you go through and map some of the controls, so that, and let's come back over just to show you again, like, how do we go through, how do we set it up so that I can, wherever my cursor is located, when I push, the button to insert that blog article thing, how do we set that up so that comes through? I'm going to show you how to do that, or how to set it up in PowerPoint so that we can edit points. So, obviously that's not going to be a live stream. That's, probably a 3 to 4 minute video, but showing you some more functionality on how to use these type of things. But with that being said, obviously anytime there's any questions, please reach out to me. There's my phone, there's my email. And if you guys haven't already, it would be a huge help to me if you could, go to, if you're not on YouTube, if you're watching this through LinkedIn or through Twitter, head over to my YouTube channel, give a like, give a comment, subscribe. It does help me out. It shows the bosses, the mothership, that this is working. But with that, I'm about a minute over my 30-minute lunch or half-hour lunch hour, and would love to make your lives easier. So please reach out with any questions that you need. I'm here for you guys. All right. Have a great day.